There we go. All right. So how you doing, man? Thanks for coming back for a reshoot, a second reshoot.
No problem. Whatever it takes to get the final product, right?
Yeah. We are committed and ambitious in what we do. Welcome back to the Right Vibes Tales from Tuleburg Press on K.W.D.C 93.5 Stockton. I'm your host, BonesInTheBooth, and this is brought to you by the Fierce Mustang Media Group, a internship here at San Joaquin Delta College. I'm thrilled to bring you this series. Here we are on our second episode, showcasing the talented the talented artists who have collaborated and worked with Tuleburg Press and the Right Place here in Stockton. If you don't know, if you didn't catch the first one in this series, we'll dive into the creative minds of artists, writers, authors, poets, rappers, and educators, exploring their journeys, inspirations, and the impact of their work. Whether you're a literature lover or a fan of lyrical genius, there's something here for everybody. Join me as we celebrate these voices and stories that they have to tell. Tune in and get inspired by the artistic brilliance that makes this community vibrant and diverse. Let's go. And today we have... Should I just say J-Scribe? Do you like to go by your real name?
No, J-Scribe's good, yeah.
Like, it was a first initial reaction to say Josh J-Scribe the Journeyman.
Oh, sure.
But
I guess it all works. Yeah, I mean, the other day, one of my friends was giving another one of my friends crap for calling me Josh. He's like, no, it's Scribe, dude. We don't even know who you're talking about. So, yeah, whatever works.
Yeah, but, yesterday, because I interviewed Melchor yesterday.
Yeah.
And then we were hanging out and kind of going over, checking out the footage and whatnot. And I mentioned I was like, wait, do you know him as Josh, or do you just call him J-Scribe? He's like, I just call him Josh, but,
yeah.
So I get that.
He's got the same thing, too. He's kind of known by different names amongst different people.
Yeah. And so for the listeners, and just so anybody knows the context in some of our banter, we did shoot last week, but had some technical difficulties or issues arrive. 2 of my 3 cameras. That one got the video footage, but these 2, I needed to format the SD card. So we got the audio, but we didn't get the video. So we
had a good chat, though.
Yeah.
It was a good convo.
So this is take 2. So, we'll be going over pretty much the same questions. But if you want to go ahead and tell our listeners what it is you do, what you're into, what are your artistic mediums?
Yeah. Well, as the name J-Scribe the Journeyman implies, I'm primarily lyrically based, but I do a little bit of visual art and DJing and percussion. But I consider myself a writer first and foremost. And for me, that manifests as a little bit of short story writing, poetry, rap, which, rap is, I consider a branch of poetry, but definitely its own thing too. Yeah.
And then will you tell us a bit about your journey and how you got into that, how you stumbled into that?
Yeah. I really was a lover of words and stories from a young age. My mom was a big reader, so there was just always books around the house. And so learning how to read was something I was really inspired to do at a young age. And then wanted to write stories. I wanted to give people the experiences I was getting from the books and even cartoons and shows. It was all forms of storytelling. So, throughout elementary school, middle school, I was doing short stories and whatnot. And then around high school, really started delving into the medium of poetry a lot more. I had a really good English teacher who kind of opened up my mind to how that medium could be a form of storytelling too, but also for me a little more concise. I get lost in my own imagination sometimes trying to write stories.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, but I mean, if you're trying to create finish something, sometimes it's so with poetry, it's okay, here's a container I can use and fill and come up with a complete concept and piece, and it's just a different medium. So poetry was that for me, and then not long after that, started freestyle rapping and writing raps, and just it was sort of just for me, it was just a continuous journey of loving language and words and the way they sound.
Linguistic arts.
Yeah, and I mean, language is fascinating. I mean, I'm not multilingual or anything, but in general, I just think languages and the way they shape cultures and minds is fascinating. Yeah.
So, and how did you come to? So you mentioned different cultures and stuff, and you got Journeyman name. How did you come to J-Scribe the Journeyman?
It's kind of funny. So with the moniker, there has been a bit of a progression. Like on this CD, which is been out for a while now, it's Joshua the Scribe. And that was sort of when I started doing slam poetry and things like that, and being more in a, you know, in a stage setting where that stuff kind of matters. I was like, all right, I need a moniker, I need something. So I was like, well, my name's Josh and I write. So it's like Joshua the Scribe. Thought it was kind of cool, but it ended up like kind of being something that people would just shorten naturally to J-Scribe. And at some point I just stopped citing it.
Sound like a prophet.
Yeah. Maybe it was too pretentious. I don't know. And then in 2010, as J-Scribe, I put out an album called Journeyman, which is available on Bandcamp. I don't have any more physical copies. But so then after that, I don't know, it was just, I feel like every time the names change, it's always sort of been like people just start doing that, you know, like at the shows, you know, it'd be like, hey, what's up, y'all? I'm J-Scribe. And people would be like, Journeyman. I was like,
nice.
All right.
I like how that sounds.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, when I go in and out of like taking the business side serious, but sometimes, you know, at one point I was considering branding and all that. And I was like, you know, there's probably some other J-Scribes out there. That's not a hard one to stumble upon. But, you know, J-Scribe the Journeyman as the full brand. And
you're the only one I know.
Yeah.
And so tell us what inspires your creative process, and how do you typically approach creating new works?
Yeah. Well, I try to keep writing to the best of my ability. It always depends on what's going on at certain times in my life, but I try to keep writing a habit whenever I can, daily if possible. You know, like every morning, sit down and do some morning pages. So just creating that space and time is the first step, but that's not necessarily inspiration. That's more just like discipline and practice. So, you know, a lot of times it'll just be like one line or a phrase or a concept or something that just sounds cool, like the way the syllables play off of each other or something. Sometimes even as I'm waking up, I'll just have a weird line in my head, and that'll just be the first line on the page, and that'll just kind of be starting my day like that is cool because my head isn't all jumbled with thoughts of what I got to do for the day. If I can get to it right, you know?
Yeah.
So the creative space is a lot more open. So a lot of times as far as just initial raw creation, it is sort of just something bouncing around my head or something I heard. But then sometimes, you know, there is an assignment or there is a song I'm working on or a specific concept. So then it's like, okay, I got to really, then it's more mental, sink in with the material and sit with it. Whereas the other style is kind of like, I guess it's the difference between like freestyle and written rap. You know, freestyle rap is.
You having like kind of an objective with written.
Yeah, exactly. Or, that's a good way to put it.
And you mentioned last week when we spoke, and I liked what you called it. Tell us about your morning pages.
Yeah, the morning pages. It's like I feel like all artists. I mean, maybe I'm not qualified to speak for all artists, but in my experience, all artists struggle with this feeling of, you know, all they want to do is their art, but we have to go and work and do jobs and things like that. And I've been through that too, and I know a lot of people that, and I've been one of them, just kind of quit a good job situation just to go be a freewheeling artist for a while, and then you come back to it. And so it's like this wrestling with your soul. Am I losing myself as an artist to what I have to do to survive as a human? So for me, just like trying to make sure I get that writing in every day just helps me feel like I'm keeping a piece of my soul safe, whatever I have to do. Definitely helps with the craft as well. Like any of the great writers will tell you, if you want to call yourself a writer, you just have to write, you know? So, I mean, I know people who publish books, and then you talk to them, hey, what you been writing lately? And I'm like, I haven't written in a couple years. I'm like, that's crazy to me. You know, even if I'm not writing anything good, I try to make that time. And so having the morning pages as a discipline really helps, because on a very basic level, it's going to help me just be consistent with my craft. But on a mental, I guess you could say spiritual level too, it's like, okay, I made sure before I went out and did anything for the day, I did what I wanted to do the most and what's most important to me. And, you know, whenever it's possible, sometimes you got to get up early and go to work or whatever. But, you know, I try to, you know, get that time in daily as much as possible.
Yeah. And so the morning pages is just the time he sets aside for himself to just write pages of whatever.
Yeah. Kind of whatever comes to mind. And if there's enough time, sometimes you flip back to what you're writing a couple days ago, and then that's more of a revision process. And like, oh, I like that. I want to expand on that.
Yeah.
And,
I like that.
Yeah.
And I said that last week. The morning pages. That's a good discipline. And what themes are you exploring? What themes do you often explore? And are they different between your poetry and your music?
That's a good distinction. I think content-wise, I'm pretty consistent. Whatever medium I'm presenting my message in. For me, at the heart of it, I really have found creativity, just being able to be a creative human has been so important for healing, just feeling empowered as a person. And I think that creative spark is really like an important part of what it means to be human, and everyone has it. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't really nurture it, or they're not encouraged or whatever. Like whenever I hear someone say, oh, I don't have a creative bone in my body, I don't like that. I feel like,
you haven't tapped into it yet.
Yeah. And there's lots of reasons for that. But, so to answer your question, I feel like for me, I want to push on this idea that, we all have this potential inside of us, and I can only share that with you through what I do. So I write a poem or I write a rap. And but really, content-wise, I'm trying to point to these similarities and these things that we all have in common that empower us rather than disempower us. I mean, people make music about all kinds of things that are positive, negative, whatever. I really want my music to be something that could almost be like a seed that's planted, and then you mull it over, and something could actually be helpful to you or inspirational. But I don't know, I can only put out what I can put out. What I feel is doing that, but whether it gets lost in translation or not. So I think the themes I deal with a lot is just how to maintain that, I guess what I would call the true human spirit in a world that kind of tries to kill it, whether, it's through capitalism, consumerism, racism, misogyny, all these things that we have to cope with in this society that, in my opinion, are kind of counter to the true human. My art and music, I really want to try to remind us of what it really means to be human, and hopefully encourage people along their creative path, whatever that may be. So a lot of times I'll be writing political stuff. I feel like a lot of times my work juxtaposes sort of inspiration and wisdom I take from the natural world versus like what we see when we look out in the world today, and kind of how maybe sort of like a neo-shamanism, I guess, in a way, Yeah.
How do you stay motivated and continue to, like, where do you find your inspiration?
Yeah.
Which is it?
I think, maybe again, I can only speak for myself, but I know for me,
like what's your creative process, and how
you
get down to it once you get that spark of inspiration.
Yeah. Well, again, I feel like just making the time and space for it is crucial. And then I feel like a lot of times, we just stay motivated along what we really like. Like I write, if I write, let's say 2 pages a day for a week, that's 14 pages, but maybe only like half of a page is any good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to but that half a page may really get me excited. And I'm going to come back to that page day after day and build on that concept. And so, finding the stuff that inspires me as a reader or as a listener in my own work, that really like gets me going. Or like when I'm writing a rap and I'm like, ooh, that line is fire. Like when I'm a fan of my own work, then I'm like, okay, yeah. But, I'm also hella critical too. So, so when I'm, feel inspired, or, working with other people helps too, collaborating with producers or musicians or a band, because, they're giving me musical material that then is inspiring lyrics, and I want to meet them where they're at, and they put a lot of work and energy into what they presented. I want to really bring my best. Like I work with this band here in town, Mazel Tov Cocktail, and
I like that name.
And we're getting ready to record our second album, and there's like one song that I hadn't written an actual verse to, because a lot of these songs, they came up just as jams that we would just jam out musically, and I'd freestyle too. But then it's like, all right, well, we're recording, so it's time to write. And so the other day, that was like the first thing I wanted to do when I woke up, was like write that verse for that song. So I was like, oh man, I want to have this ready for practice. I want to, I want my boys to be proud of me. I want to, come up with the dopest stuff I can say for this song. So I guess it kind of depends, when you're working on your own, it's a different kind of motivation versus like what the motivation you get from collaboration.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When you got other people, working together, lifting you up, they're giving you an angle that you're possibly not.
Yeah. And I believe in the steel, sharpen steel method too. When I started Mazel Tov Cocktail, it was just me and the guitar player. Then we brought in a bass player and drummer, and now we got, we're a six-piece ensemble, and there's another rapper and vocalist, and so, he keeps me sharp too. When he comes to the group with a verse that's dope, and it was, oh, dude, that's a dope verse. I'm like, all right, I gotta write a dope verse too. I gotta make them say that when I present what I got too. So, not in a competitive way, but just like, oh man, dude did come with a dope verse. If we're gonna be on the same song, I gotta be on that level.
What was that Living Legends song? I couldn't even tell you right now. I'll probably circle back to it, but they have like a whole line that's pretty much about, you're spitting with the other dudes and they're going to spit some stuff and it's going to bring you up. But yeah, I'm totally butchering it, but no, Living Legends.
Yeah, Living Legends is, that's a good example of what I'm talking about too. Their work actually inspires me as an artist. So as an artist, I hope that at least in some way, what I do can inspire people. But yeah, Double L's classic.
Oh yeah. And then speaking with Melchor yesterday, obviously we brought up his brother, who's great photographer, gets to do the photography for Living Legends.
Yeah.
So Living Legends is big in my circle, our circle, I guess.
Absolutely.
Can you describe your routine? Do you have your specific rituals? I know you got your morning pages when you write, but when you decide you want to finish or bang out a song or a poem, do you have a specific routine?
No, I guess it kind of depends. If it's time sensitive, then usually something I want to get done, like if people are waiting on it. But a lot of times, if it's not just like raw creation, writing something new, a lot of times it will just be like when inspiration strikes. And I'll be like, all right, man, I got to go back to that song. Or, producers will send me some beats. I'll listen to them. I'll get really stoked about one, write like maybe half a verse, and then like come across the beats a week later and be like, oh, right, I got to go back to that. There was something cooking up there. So, yeah, I guess I don't have as much of a system in place for like the editing revision as far as just like making time for the raw creation. If I had all the time in the world, that would just be my whole day, do a little free writing, editing, recording, but, get to it all when we can.
Yeah, dude, finding the time between, like you said, having to do your day-to-day human stuff, or stuff you got to do to survive as a human, and then finding the time to get to do your craft.
Yeah.
That's a struggle.
I think, that's one thing I really appreciate is, I guess being a more mature artist or having been doing this for a while is the value in that, just appreciating the craft for the craft's sake. I know when I was younger and started doing this and realizing I was pretty good at it, and you get other people telling you you're good, you get this idea in your head of like what success is and what you're shooting for. And I realized for me that was sort of an implanted program. I didn't really want that. I didn't really care about all that. And now, I come back to just really the joy of making the art and spending the time collaborating with people, and just, it is what it is. And so there's not this idea of like, oh man, if I'm not eating off of this, then, I shouldn't even be doing it. It's like, well, I'm doing this because I love it, and I'm still figuring out how to eat and keep a roof over my head, patching it all together. So,
but it does feel good when you finally do get to eat off of, your craft. I guess I just say that to say, because I've been at it long enough now that I know people that quit because it didn't turn over for them like that. And, and they, for me, I could never see myself putting down the pen for whatever reason. I'd probably be like starving to death under a bridge and still be wanting to write, Someone comes by to give you like a hot sandwich or something, like, you got a pencil?
Yeah, right.
It was No Slow Thinkers by The Grouch from the Living Legends. Do you remember that song?
Yeah.
So that part where he says, don't you love it when your friends get you thinking, do something innovative, never even thought of, get you all inspired and fired up to live life. You tell them what they did was tight. You're fully motivated.
Like, pulled that up. I like that.
Oh, dude, that was one of my favorite.
You don't have an assistant like some of these other podcasters.
Yeah. Without some of my friends, I'd probably Oh, nope, I skipped a line. And tell them what they did was tight. Now you're fully motivated. You might have hesitated, but now you're on the move, though. Without some of my friends, I'd probably move too slow. And that ain't cool, so I need reinforcements. And to be around positivity makes more sense. It's intense, trying to top a legend, but I make do and get praise from my brethren. They topped me, and the last is the past. That keeps me on point with my foot on the gas. And then my favorite living legend line, if not one of my favorite hip-hop lines, is you got to give respect where it's due and stay true. It's neither all about them nor all about you. And like, I don't know, I was like, what you were saying, you know, just working with other people, lifting you up, like you're just going to keep trying to top your last best, you know, and just keep, you know, moving up and creating.
Well, I think no matter like how you create, and I am in general a very solitary person, but I think as an artist, on any artist journey, you can't get around the fact that community is a vital part of being an artist. Whether you're going to the open mic, whether you're putting your art up in a gallery, whether you're just like freestyling with your homies in the garage, whatever it is, you know, you can do a lot on your own. And I think some people everyone has, you know, different styles that work better for them. But at some point as an artist, community is going to influence
definitely
what you're doing. Or, you know, you can only go so far without
living
community.
Under a rock.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Patrick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, I don't get me wrong. I got like the whole, you know, J.D. Salinger run off to the woods, you know, mysterious writer fantasy, but you know, maybe you know, a few phases down the road.
Come back with a big old beard. Your like hair's long, got this robe, you know, a staff. I'm like, it's the Journeyman.
Yeah, you know, I do have a wizard staff.
Nice. How do you differentiate between writing hip hop and writing poetry? I know you mentioned earlier you kind of stay true to your same themes, but how do you decide, okay, this one's going to be a song, this one's going to be a poem?
It's an interesting distinction. And yeah, so I mean, a lot of times it really comes down to the beat or the production. You know, if a producer sends me a beat, and I'm just like,
do you write your poems to beats too?
Sorry,
I didn't mean to derail your.
No, it's all kind of relevant. I mean, because if I do have music on, usually when I'm writing, it'll just be like some instrumental, kind of low key stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'll say sometimes I'll write poetry to beats, and I feel like, you know, I've kind of, you could look at it as like you could either be in one of two lanes, right? You could either be the poet or the rapper, but I feel like for me and some of the artists, and I think Melchor falls in this category too, you know, we sort of merge the two. Like Saul Williams, he's a big inspiration to me. I know Melchor as well. And, you know, his first album was produced by Rick Rubin, but it was a total hybrid of poetry because he was a slam poet and hip hop. And, you know, that album came out when I was kind of figuring that stuff out for myself. So I was very influenced by that. And I realized there is a line to ride, and but sometimes you just need to spit 16 bars because that's what the song needs. And I guess it's a different approach. So with rap, it would be more, at least for me, okay, that's a dope beat, or the band's laying down something dope. Okay, I'm gonna freestyle, or maybe I got something memorized that fits that, or I'm gonna go home and write something new to that. Versus like if I come to the band with a poem, it's gonna be more like they're gonna have me recite the poem and kind of figure it out. Because, you know, with a rap, there's a rhythm already. When I deliver a rap, I'm already telling you the rhythm. I'm already telling you, you know, with a poem that, you know, you could pick up off the page and read in so many different ways. You know, how do you communicate that to musicians? So one of my signature pieces is on this album. It's called Wake Up. But that piece has gone through so many different reincarnations in its lifetime because different people I work with, you know, the word, it's not a rap. But a lot of times people who aren't into hip hop will be like, oh, that was a cool rap, because it is like, you know, it's not in time. It's not in rhythm like that, but it has a lot of urban references. It has a lot of cinematic elements. So when we do with the band, you know, they're more following my lead and you know, pausing when I pause and things like that. So I guess that's kind of a distinction as far as like a poem versus a rap.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so on that album, it was originally a poem and you turned it into a rap song, or?
Yeah, it was. Well, this album, it was a poem, and then worked with a producer and kind of just built a beat around the poem in the studio. And then on the Mazel Tov Cocktail album that we put out a couple months ago, called Rootless Cosmopolitans. Wake Up shows up again, but it's more the band kind of playing behind my lyrics live. And then we're gonna do it on the next album. We're gonna do another version.
And where can people find these albums?
Rootless Cosmopolitans by Mazel Tov Cocktail is on all streaming platforms. You can find it anywhere you listen to music. As far as any solo stuff I have, I think digitally right now it's just the Journeyman, J-Scribe Journeyman on Bandcamp.
Okay.
And
I'm writing down like my time so I know where to go in when I'm doing.
To drop the links. Yeah.
Put the links up on the screen for you.
Nice.
What challenges do you face as an artist, and how do you overcome them?
Well, I think for me the biggest challenge is the business side of it, the monetizing, promoting. That has just always not seemed very fun to me, and so it's not something I am really motivated to do. Some artists are really good at promoting themselves on social media and getting all their stuff up on the proper distribution and stuff like that. And I think one initial problem I struggle with is just overthinking. Like sometimes I just, I'm sitting on material that I just like, well, maybe it's not good enough. And I even have some songs where like, the producer, for whatever reason, I don't even have access to the original files. And it's like, I'm never going to be able to change that song. So I might as well put it out, but I'm still, you know what I mean? So
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I have a YouTube channel that I've been waiting to go public with, and I'm probably going to go public when I finish recording these series, but I have a bunch of old videos from the old radio show and just some old things that I've, put together along my journey of learning video here at Delta College. But some, now that I have more knowledge, more skill on editing and whatnot, I'm like, okay, I want to go back and revamp these videos and then release them in timeline order. Have, the first video, that I worked on.
And you're giving yourself
first.
A whole new project in your brain now.
Yeah, and then it's like, I don't want this series to wait for me to get all that other crap in order.
Yeah.
So I've just got to kind of, cut the ties, let go of that, drop this series, and then eventually be like, oh, hey, I did this in, 2017 or whatever.
I think that's like the answer to the second part of your question, how do you overcome it? And I just I've gone through so many different phases as an artist, from, just being sort of an anarchist punk poet in Lodi, going to open mics, and then in San Francisco I was underage sneaking into bars where they were doing open mics. I was just really just wanting to be down with
I'm not even trying
poetry
to drink,
and music.
I just want that mic.
Yeah, and not even caring about where it went, or I didn't even have a concept of like putting out albums and stuff. But then, like I said, once you start getting some praise and stuff, you're like, oh, okay, I should put out some albums, I should do some tours, I should do some things, and so for me, just coming back to just appreciating it for what it is and where it's at, and not killing myself with this idea of what I should be doing and what I should have been doing. But then, not letting myself off the hook completely. Like, I'm not going to do that stuff. But like, I guess the challenge is sometimes in my mind, it just becomes this insurmountable wall. And it's just like, all right, everything I would need to do to manage myself as an artist, I'm totally overwhelmed. I can sit and write. I can do that. And, I can make a little Instagram video and whatnot, but, everything to do things on the level I want to do, I'm not. I'm not a producer, I'm not a sound engineer. And so I think that's the challenge for me, is feeling like there's all these pieces to getting my art out to the world that either I need other people for, or I don't. So the way I get over that is just, well, what can I do from where I'm at? What do I have? What can I do? And just try to look at it differently. And I think at this point in the game, to just still be doing it is the success. So get over this idea of I need to buy a car off of music. I need to, whatever it is. It's just, if I'm still doing it and I'm still keeping afloat through whatever I got to do, then that's okay. Then that is a success.
Like success and wealth is subjective.
Yeah. And you can call yourself a successful artist if you're still making art. You know what I mean? It's you don't have to be earning six figures off of your art to call yourself a successful artist. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm not rolling in dough. I'm not paying my bills off camera work, but like where I'm at, then my own personal goals, like I'm now getting into concerts to shoot photography. I'm shooting podcast series. I'm shooting music videos with my friends. And I'm not, racking in, revenue doing that, but that's something that I've been thinking, saying, talking about
but
wanting
that
to do.
fulfillment that you
So
have
I
now,
feel like I'm successful
right?
at
Well,
what I'm doing.
and that's the difference between wealth and abundance, right? Like if you feel good about your life and you feel good about how you're spending your time and energy, that creates like an abundant state, and like you kind of just don't worry about money. You'll be all right. But
Yeah.
you know, if you're in that state of, oh man, can't afford this, I can't afford that, you know, you stay stuck there. So yeah, I think that's really important, and especially I would say for younger artists, you know, you got to stay in love with it. You got to stay passionate about it and cut through all the BS. And yeah, maybe you do got to work 45 hours a week to support you got kids or whatever, but if you can find whatever time you can find to keep the spark alive, is worth it.
And then so my next one was going to ask if you wanted to share a poem or an excerpt, you know, that you're proud of, and then explain its significance. Did you want me to do the same beat that you had me cue up last time, or do you want to spit something different? Or
I'm okay to do either way.
Because I still have that.
Did that sound good on the recording last time?
Well, I mean, in your mic, it sounded good. Like the beat, I would probably have to add in post. You know? But the beat, I would just play so you can hear it, you know?
It's up to you. Should we just do like an acapella, like something out of one of the books?
Your call.
Okay.
Because I can bring up that beat again.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would say, what do you think your listeners want to hear, but we don't know yet? Because
I'd say let's do it. Let's go with the
drop the beat.
Yeah, I just gotta remember where I put it. Declarative statement.
Yeah.
There we go.
So this is kind of an interesting piece to talk about too, because this beat I got from a producer in Milwaukee years ago called The White Russian, off a record label called Unify. And but now there's a version of Declarative Statement on the Mazel Tov album too, because it was just jamming with the band, had these lyrics in the head, and it just kind of fit with what they were playing. So it's just a good example of how poems, songs, raps, all art, even when you think it's done or a finished piece, you know, it always kind of can reinvent itself and show up again.
All right, so let's. This is a Declarative State off of which album?
Well, I guess the only released version would be on the Mazel Tov Rootless Cosmopolitans. But this with this beat, this version really is unreleased.
Nice. So you guys are hearing it here first.
Yeah, it's an exclusive. Can you turn it up just a little bit? I'm a spoken word hip hop hybrid. Genre blending with elegant refinement, tempered with ruggedness from busting these verses on concrete and asphalt in alleys and churches, working open mics like a discipline, rocking paradox. I'm pacifistic militant, filling in the blanks on these pages, spilling gasoline to keep the streets blazing. Freestyle minded, spontaneous creationist, making this rhyme manifest on some craziness. I'm a madman, laughing, rapping with the backpack. If you can't adapt to that, stand back, cause I'll take all the space that I need. Express my creativity with no apologies. You can try to categorize it, call it what you like, but y'all know what the time is when Scribe is on the mic. The acapella, rebella, instrumental, whatever. I spit psychedelic stories out of my cerebellum. Tell them to the children, that feeling is tremendous. I'ma keep building, living with intention. The pen and the pad are the tools of the trade in the hands of a man dedicated to the stage. Spit a phrase to amaze ladies and gentlemen, decimate the fakes who don't play with intelligence. Spending my time refining my craft, master my new designs every time I write raps. Deciphering my mind state when the beats vibrate. Journeyman with the plan, mapping out the highway. I legislate measures, check my credentials. I'm an experimental expert with my mentals. Treble in the bass with the rebels in the basement. Settling my pain, letting in creation. Declarative statements posted on your pages. Taking the basics straight to outer space. Hopscotch the stars, spit hip hop in bars. Prophetic, poetic, letterman at large.
Nice.
And that's that piece.
J-Scribe the Journeyman, Declarative Statements.
Yeah.
I like it. And so what's the, or did you fully cover that when on what you said before you spit, the significance to that?
Oh, well, before that, I was just mentioning how like pieces can evolve and change over time. That piece in particular is kind of cool because it was, I guess, a point I was kind of like wrestling with that identity of like, oh, am I a slam poetry cat? Am I a rapper? Am I this or that? So that was kind of like my declarative statement, right out the gate. I'm a spoken word hip hop hybrid, just kind of, and I think that's a big part of walking your artistic path too, is just having confidence. Even if it's like full on delusion, if you got to gaslight yourself to the max, but you got to, that's what it takes.
What do people say? Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. But I mean, you really do got to just like put it out there and believe in yourself. So with that track, that was kind of like, all right, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. Take it or leave it. And, it was a good space to write from, because then, I mean, I think most artists could relate. It's really easy to get down, and there's a million different reasons you can talk yourself out of doing what you want to do. Self-confidence, self-esteem, even like maybe people in your life have said stuff that's affected you negatively, and so yeah, sometimes you got to just put it out there.
You can talk yourself out of doing things without even noticing directly that you're doing it. You'll just kind of find some loophole to be lazy or not push yourself out of that comfort zone. Well, I actually got to do this, so maybe I'll do that tomorrow or something or other. And you don't even realize you're kind of tripping yourself.
I think that's what's so crazy to remember is like 100% of people have to do that just to get by basic survival in this world, let alone people who want to then have time to create something else, and share something else with the world. So it's like, how do you maintain time and energy for that? I feel like being an artist who has to work and do other things, for you almost like live in two worlds.
Yeah,
I mean, you probably know that is your coworkers don't even know they have what's going on. It's like, oh, you do that rap music stuff, that's cool. It's like, man, you don't even know what I do, bro.
Know the gravity of what it is
or what it takes.
You take photos, you do video. I'm like, yeah, you don't know after I close this pub and leave here and get out of here and finally at home by like 2, I'm still up for the next 4 hours or so editing stuff.
Yeah, or what it takes to like get into those shows and get to the point where you're the guy that's getting called to do those shows. It's like a lot of unpaid work, a lot of sleepless nights. Mm-hmm. I mean, I came up off of open mics. So, that's a whole scene unto itself. You're in bars late at night. Sometimes you go to someone else's house, do more poetry later. I mean, it's like a lot of late nights. Back in the youth, a lot of just like drinking, smoking, partying involved. Yeah. It's just like,
it's like in this world, that's a kind of a big, not like I'm glorifying it or whatever, but it's a big hand in a lot of the networking and socializing.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just think about like, man, all those years of hustling like that to get to the point where you're still doing it. And then, your coworkers just think it's like a fun little hobby or whatever. It's like, no, man, this is like my life. You don't understand. Like, this is the hobby. Me being here 9 to 5, punching this clock. This is the game to me. I get out of here, I go live my real life.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and like, how you said you came off of open mics. I pretty much came off of just word of mouth, like hanging out with, you do this? Oh, my buddy does that. Or, like I meet you because you've done shows with the homies.
Yeah.
Like I met Melchor because I'm doing the thing here with Delta, with Tuleburg and whatnot. So it's like, I'm just networking. Yeah. I'll go to the shows, take the, pictures that I'm shooting at, and then I'll kind of hang out after the shows, try to come across somebody, shake hands, kiss babies.
Yeah.
But, do the whole network thing, trying to meet new people. Here's my card. This is what I do. Get out.
I think that's what it takes. I mean, maybe some people just have crazy luck and talent and, that 1 in a million shot. But I mean, I think
you got to put in the time.
Yeah, it just takes time. And you have to you have to find some way to just stay centered and stay in love with it, even when it's sucking, even when it's not paying the bills. And I think for me, it's just got to a point where it's just like, this just is who I am. Mm-hmm. It's like, why would I even fight who I am? I mean, the rest of my life now has to bend to this. I'm done trying to bend my artistic self to fit into a box. Mm-hmm. There've been times in my life, like I said, where I would just go and was able to live exclusively off of art and music, but it meant living very simply in a way that maybe making sacrifices that other people wouldn't make. Yeah. But to me, it didn't feel like a sacrifice at all. It was like, okay, this is what it takes.
This is what I got to do.
Not even to do what I do. This is what it takes to be who I am. It's just like.
No, I said this is what I got to do.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I feel that. Sorry, the people rolling by just totally made me lose my train of thought.
Your train.
So, would you say that's the hardest part, or what would you say would be the most challenging thing as being a writer today?
Yeah, again, I think
because times have changed since when we originally started, trying to come up in our craft.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we were talking about this. We touched on this a lot more last week's convo, but just the fact that when I was coming up, the idea of like if I thought I wanted to publish a book of poetry or put out an album, it was like, okay, I gotta put a demo package together and send that to some corporate entity who can then decide if I get in, and then if I do that, then I get keys to the castle and this and that. And that was like the whole approach to like making it big. Whereas like nowadays, anyone can make an album off their phone in their bedroom. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not, but you can do it. You can like complete,
post it, put it out there.
Yeah, you can make a complete project, just off your phone at home. So this idea that I came up on is like, all right, I'm the writer, I got to write good, and then get in with the producer, and then get into the studio, and then that's kind of out the window. So I would say the challenge now is really, I guess, kind of touched on it earlier in this conversation, is just being true to yourself and figuring out what do you have to say. Because I mean, people are just broadcasting whatever they want 24/7 all day. If you don't want to just get lost in the mass media BS, you gotta say something unique. And maybe it's not unique in the sense like no one else is saying it, but it's how do you frame it? How does it look through your eyes? What is your take on it that is uniquely yours? So yeah, I don't know. And I guess your question is kind of like, could those be challenge as far as what? Like challenge as far as making a living as a writer? I think that's probably always been hard, but maybe even harder nowadays, because it's like,
yeah, I guess you got a point. You got to narrow the scope of the question a little more.
Well, but also too, it's like, so like when I went to school to get a degree in writing, which like some people, and maybe they're right, that's ridiculous, but I took some classes on copywriting and just practical approaches, how to use creative writing skills to write copy for websites, help artists make cool little blurbs and whatnot. But now you have AI that can do that.
Yeah.
So that was a potential revenue stream for writers that might be going away. I think editing is a good skill to have. I think being able to edit people's work and give them good feedback, and that's a skill that could probably, you can find work doing that, and that's a piece of the puzzle that not a lot of people are doing, and everyone needs.
I feel like I am better at editing than coming up with my own work.
I feel like I'm better at editing other people's work than my own work.
Like, I do the, audio and video editing and my photo editing, but as far as like, I'll hang out with, my homie Kelvin, my best friend. I've known him since kindergarten. Celador, part of the Third Eye team. Shout out. I'll hang out with him and Jimmy and my buddy Ricky, goes by Diamond Mine. We'll be hanging out in the room with the beat going, and sometimes it's freestyle. Sometimes they're each, writing and reciting their own thing, passing the mic. And then I like to claim myself as their creative consultant, self-proclaimed. But I was like, no, go back. Okay, that part, that part was tight. But then do this or whatever, and,
or spit it a little faster here, or double. Yeah,
like it's good to get that outside. If you're trying to edit yourself, you're not going to look at it the same way as maybe the audience or your listeners or whatever. So it's good to be totally outside perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's true no matter how good you are. I mean, I think a lot of people are impressed with the idea of these artists like Jay-Z or Lil Wayne, who brag, I don't write anything, I just go in the booth and spit. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Maybe you'd be an even better artist if you did. I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's cool. And then you have like artists like Eminem who write constantly. So
and look at the caliber he's at.
Yeah. So I feel like everyone's. I'm not trying to knock anyone's artistic approach, but just in my opinion, I think a lot of people who refuse to edit could use some editing.
Excuse me. So, how we were talking about, getting the outside perspective and networking and getting, other people involved. In what ways do you think art contributes to societal well-being? Like, how do you see the role of art building and sustaining a thriving community?
I think it's absolutely essential. I think that's a good question, but I think that question is also reflective of the times we live in. I believe there's probably a time in human history where that wouldn't have even been a question, because art and music was just baked into daily life, because that's what we need as humans. And we've gone along this path as a civilization that the arts have become deprioritized and seen as a hobby, seen as something optional. They've been defunded in our schools and our, there's less grant money for the arts than ever before.
I feel like it's definitely not taken as a as serious, part of education as the rest of the stuff.
Yeah. So in as much as I think society wants to frame it as this optional thing, and your question is how important it is, I'm like, it's absolutely vital to the survival of humanity. I mean, I think a lot of the pain and misery we see in the world stems from the fact that the arts are so suppressed and people's creativity is so suppressed. And, I think the people causing a lot of the world's problems are these folks who don't ever try to be creative. They just have this one lens of looking through the world, and it works for them, and they don't care who they hurt. So yeah, I think art, music, community, collaboration, creativity is a vital part of the human experience and needs to be, we need that daily, I think.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be baked. If you can't do it for yourself, then you got to get around people that can, cook that up for you. Like I said, open mic has always been like my family, especially as the journeyman. I've moved around. I've been a part of a lot of different artistic communities, and it's always the open mic I go to first when I'm in a new city.
That's what you're looking for.
That's the vein. That's where you're going to meet at least a couple of people, and maybe that you didn't find the best open mic in town, and you'll find the next. But that's where you start tapping in to your local scene. And the people who frequent open mics regularly are
usually know more about the scenes.
Yeah, but they're also like usually the people that are the most genuinely dedicated to the craft for craft's sake. They'll come to that open mic religiously after work or before they got to go to work the next day, and they're not trying to get rich or famous off it. They just love it. I ran an open mic in Milwaukee weekly. A lot of them are monthly nowadays, but it was a long running weekly, and there was this woman, and it started around like 7 or 8, kind of late, but she had to work night shift, and she would always come early, and I always had to make sure I started in time so she could read and then go to work. But nice. She was there literally every week. You know what I mean? It was that important to her, and those are the type of people you meet at open mics, and those type of people inspire me. Because they're going to do it no matter what.
That's awesome. I like that. She's, that dedicated, and it meant that much to her.
Yeah, and to cycle back up to your question, I feel like that's the kind of energy we need in a society, in a community.
And so how do you engage with the community through your work? You do the open mics and whatnot.
Yeah, for many years, I really have past couple of years scaled way back on event promotion, but for many years I was running open mics pretty regularly, hosting, promoting, booking the features, running sound. It was definitely a labor of love, and it was a lot of fun, and I connected with a lot of people, but it got to the point where it was taking away from my time and energy for my own art, and I had to step back. But also, it got to the point too where I'd been doing it for a long time, and I don't want to say it's a young person's game because I don't really believe that, but also it's like, maybe it's time for someone else to hold the space. Because that's really all an open mic is. You're just holding space.
Pass the mantle.
Yeah. You could have it acoustic, you could have a sound system, all that stuff is kind of secondary. All it is holding space. When I was in Ireland this past July, we had this event at the summer school, and it was literally just people sitting in a room in a circle, and just kind of whoever wanted to stand up and read something read. It wasn't even a sign-up sheet or anything. I don't know if you would call it an open mic, but I loved it. It was just so organic and genuine, and it was just anyone else want to share?
People there for the people.
Yeah, and it was great, and it was super authentic. So, and I think that's at the heart of what an artistic community needs. Now, that's not all it needs. I really do believe in eating off of your craft and making a living off of what you're passionate about. So I think, in as much as I believe very much in the grassroots level, I like there to be some sort of program's not the right word, but some sort of inclination to, how do we build this up? How do our artists who maybe are good enough to get on a bigger stage, how do we get them on a bigger stage? Artists from our community who are really putting in the work and
how do we nurture them?
How do we help them get a tour? How do we help them get a few gigs out of town? How do we bring bigger name artists into our town so that our up and coming artists can be on the same stage as someone from Def Poetry Jam or something like that. But it all starts right, at that very basic, it's just artists in a room. We could do an open mic right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And so, stemming off of, having that mindset on how do we help elevate these artists and nurture them, I want to, finally bring up, someone that's been nurturing, people here in the community you probably know more than I have. I've only, known her for the past semester or two. How did you come to know Paula and know about Tuleburg Press in the right place and get involved there?
Yeah. So I knew about Paula and Tuleburg a little bit before I actually met her. I just, because I grew up in Lodi, but moved away and moved back in like 2018, and so started getting involved with like the Stockton Lodi music scene. So I'd heard about Tuleburg. There was one time that they needed help moving some this big heavy piece of printing equipment, and so I volunteered for that. And that was literally the first time I met Paula. I don't think she even remembers that, but it really started. She was good friends with my old boss at the in-season nursery when I worked there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, no, you had the whole nursery. Baby.
Yeah. So that was kind of where the first time I really started spending time with Paula. She hired me as her gardener, and I was just working in her backyard. And just through the course of conversation, came up that I was a writer and a performer. And at the time, I was part of this company, Family Power Music, that I'd co-founded, and we were doing events and stuff. The thing she was most interested in was this anthology that we had put out called the Founders Anthology. The 3 founders put our work in here. Because she was looking for someone to be an editor and help put together this book, The Center of Attention, which is, there's some J-Scribe stickers. Blam. So this is an anthology of Stockton and San Joaquin based artists. So, it was basically, I was just working in the garden one day, and we started talking about this stuff. And she said, hey, can you come down to the center, which is what she calls the right place? And I did, and I brought, some of my stuff and started doing workshops to kind of prep the community for what we were looking for with this anthology. And from there, it just kind of grew into doing some other workshops, some after school stuff. Through Rhymosaurs and Tuleburg, Zeps and I, and some other artists, we did a hip hop summer camp at Tuleburg last summer.
Shout out to
last summer.
Orlando, Zep, Molina.
Yeah. And Paula was one of those people I knew when we met, she was going to be important in my life, and she definitely has been. And Tuleburg has given me so many amazing opportunities, to be a part of this book, to get through the workshops, and then the Sligo scholarship program that they offer to go to Ireland. I'm sure Melchor maybe touched on a little bit too, but
actually, I don't think so.
Man, he's the winner.
You laid it all out.
Man.
Last.
Yeah. So the Sligo scholarship program, to my understanding, started this gentleman Ned Liba and his wife Carol. He's a Cal Berkeley alum. So out in Sligo, Ireland, where William Butler Yeats is from, there's this Yeats Academy, and every summer they do this big Yeats summer school. Professors from all over the world come, teach these workshops, poetry, movement, some lecture stuff. If you're a word nerd of any kind, you don't really have to be a Yeats head to dig it. There's a lot. And so Ned years ago went out there and realized there weren't a lot of American artists represented or in attendance. So he started securing private donations to create this scholarship program where it started at Cal. So it was 2 Cal artists and then 2 UOP artists could go apply for this scholarship and then go out to the summer school, airfare, everything paid for. And I think now this past year was the 3rd year that Tuleburg has been involved.
Nice.
And so I last year I won the Tuleburg scholarship, the Sligo scholarship through Tuleburg.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And what I think is great about it is the fact that it's offered through a nonprofit means someone like me who's already done with school can have access to it. If I wasn't on a college campus, I wouldn't have heard about it if it wasn't available through Tuleburg. And so I can say with 100% certainty it was life-changing, and the trip out there was amazing. Met so many awesome people and kind of changed my whole approach to my art and my career, because I realized I got to get out of the States a little bit more. I got to get to where what I have to offer is a little more appreciated. The type of music I've made has never been like what's commercially successful here in the States, which is fine. But, to go out there and be well received by a room full of strangers of all different ages and, real literary heads, and I'm doing slam poetry and they're digging it. I'm like, okay, there's something here I need to like kind of dig it. Yeah. So I'm going back out there with Paula and Ned and their spouses in January for the winter school. And I'm
How long are you out there for?
Right now it's kind of planned as a one way. I'm gonna stick.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna see what I can do to I don't know, maybe set up residence or stay out there for at least like 6 months or so and just really
cool.
Expand the European connection. Zeps goes out to Norway a lot, and a couple years ago I got to go out there with him and we did some shows and recording. So I feel like that's kind of where I'm at with my career now, is I want to expand my network beyond the States a little bit.
What do you eat out there when you're out there?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I'm vegan, so usually wherever I go, I got to kind of find the best options. But I did find Ireland to be a surprisingly vegan-friendly country. I mean, I don't know why I was surprised. I guess it was a preconceived notion. But yeah, everywhere I went, I was able to find some pretty good options. And I have this app called Happy Cow too. It's like anywhere you go in the world, it'll tell you where there's
some vegan stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, most places I went out there, they had good options. And I don't know what traditional Irish food really
like corned beef.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
shepherd's pie.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
If you're into that, I'm sure.
I'm just
sure
thinking of what's on my menu at the pub I work at.
Right. I mean, I do love potatoes. Can't really go wrong with potatoes.
Like seriously, like we're like going to other planets looking for like life and water and stuff. Like, why aren't we looking for potatoes?
Seriously, man.
Do so many things with potatoes.
You just dropped a whole new concept on them, bro. It's like no one's talking about potatoes.
Yeah, you can run, create electricity, create, alcohol, you create, any type of, you do potatoes anyway for food, Why aren't we looking for potatoes?
That's genius, man.
What is Idaho hiding from us? So getting back, I mean, you just talked about Ireland. Would that be your most memorable experience working with Tuleburg? Or
oh yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, getting the Sligo scholarship was huge for me, and it was just like I said, it kind of just changed everything because it just opened me up to a whole new perspective and realizing that, I mean, not that I didn't know already. I guess it was more of a reminder that there's a bigger world out there, and that it's only going to improve me as an artist, both as far as my craft, but even the network and success as a career, just getting out and meeting more people and being inspired by different sounds and different influences. Mm-hmm. Ireland is very, in as much as they're known for their literary tradition, at its heart, it was an oral tradition, which I believe hip hop is too. So I think there's a lot of parallels to be found there between, traditional Irish poetry and hip hop, and I sort of ride the line. I have a degree in writing, but I also, freestyle and gross bars and do all the gutter stuff too. So it's like I feel like being able to walk in both those worlds is going to be kind of cool out there, because it's I'm hoping I can learn a lot and maybe provide some sort of energy that's not out there at the moment. I guess time will tell.
Bring something different to the table. And so, like, with putting you on these workshops and the anthologies, is there like any other ways you can not any other ways, and more ways you can describe or tell us about how Tuleburg has helped you with your career? Supported your artistic endeavors and whatnot.
I mean, I think just having a space.
That's big. That's big for a lot of people, having a space.
Having a space and an organization that is so committed to, I guess at its heart, the literary arts. I mean, they're all about the word. I mean, but they do the paper making class, they do the bookbinding class. So that's they have all the typeset material. So I think maybe it doesn't directly benefit me, but I think it's really cool the way that they're preserving, these art forms of literature. And this anthology, the idea was, it's sort of a subgenre of poetry called poetry of place. It's a specific thing that we needed the poets to do to be eligible for this. So we had to do the workshop so we could show them, hey, this is what we're going for. We want poetry of place about Stockton, about San Joaquin. So, that made me, that kind of helped me as an educator. Well, how do I convey these ideas that Paula's given to me, but I'm the one running the workshop, and I got to somehow translate this into something that's going to come full circle and show up as a book. The confidence too. I mean, man, Paula had me doing some after school programs for some middle school kids, and that was tough, man. I mean, those kids are tough. And but it was good. I value the experience because it's like, all right, the ones that are hardest to reach are usually the ones that you need to reach the most. So, how do I do that? Maybe we talked about this last time, but how when I first started doing workshops when I was like in my 20s, I guess God, it was like 20 years ago now, being a slam poet, being a hip hop artist kind of bought me a little more cred with the students I was working with. But nowadays, man, they're just like, they're not impressed by much at all, man. It's like, it's the
cool thing to be not interested.
I was like, hey, you guys want to freestyle? And like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, well, okay, like we could all freestyle together. I'm pretty good. You want to, yeah, whatever.
Yo, what's up, kid? You want to battle rap?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like you got to, I don't teach on a daily basis. I have tremendous respect for educators, and the thing about that is, it changes all the time. I mean, every generation of kids is different and different needs and wants. I mean, some of these kids I was working with claimed that they couldn't write by hand, that they could only type. I mean, that blew my mind. I was like, what? Wow. You can't just sit and free write? I don't even know if it's true, but it was just like, that's the program they're running, It's like, technology. So to be an educator, so I think that was good. That's been a valuable thing working with Tuleburg is just, or even doing the hip hop summer camp, working with different, you have one group and all the kids are different ages. So how do you keep everyone engaged? And they didn't all want to be doing the same things. Like some of them really wanted to write raps. Some of them really didn't. A lot of the kids just, Zeps is really good at teaching kids how to do the bubble letter, graffiti. He has like this whole thing. So
he does like the whole 4 elements of hip hop, which you guys will hear about on the next episode. We'll have Zeps next on the 3rd episode.
Word. So, I think that's been valuable for me as just career rise is how do you, in an educational sense, how do you engage with a group that has such different dynamics like that? I mean, we had a couple siblings, a brother and sister that were already in like a hip hop group doing shows, producing music and performing, and then kids who like really didn't know much about hip hop at all. So it's like, how do you put on a workshop that's going to engage all of them?
Bridge the gap.
Yeah.
And so, like, through putting you on workshops, and we've talked about how Tuleburg has, supported your artistic endeavors. Could you tell our listeners, or for anybody who's wanting to get involved or maybe be looking for that extra, attention, and like, what are different ways that Paula and Tuleburg helps nurture, artists, local artists and poets in the community?
Well, I do know that these anthologies are going to become, I don't know how regular. I think this one, by the time the next one comes out, it'll have been about 2 years in between them. But, giving local writers the opportunity to publish their work and also providing workshops to help them hone that work before they submit it to publishing. I mean, that's huge. You don't get that from a lot of places. You just submit and they either like it or they don't. Mm-hmm. A lot of places aren't going to give you a workshop, be like, this is what we're looking for. Let's work on it,
Feedback and
and they do all kinds of stuff. If you follow them on Instagram or check out their website, they do Dungeons and Dragon night. They have a storytelling workshop, and then the Sligo Scholarship once a year. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they offer other grants and opportunities when they're able. If you've ever talked to people who have a lot of experience with the nonprofit sector, you hear a lot about how a lot of nonprofits, the mission doesn't really match what you see in reality, and maybe there's some shadiness going on. I don't know, but with Tuleburg, it's really obvious that they seem to be pretty good at getting the grant money, but then it goes where it's supposed to go. It goes back into the community. It goes to the artists. It goes to the young students. That we serve with these workshops.
That's good to know.
Yeah, no. So it's really beautiful to see this, an organization that has such a great mission, but then they're actually like doing what they're saying.
Backing what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And a couple months ago, they just released a chapbook series by a few local artists. Heather.
Rule?
Yeah, Rule is one of them.
And we'll have her on the next couple.
Yeah, so Paula had me host the release event. You know, she'll have me do that sometimes, just host events. You know, and that's a great thing too. That was an opportunity. Now I think it was 4 local artists had their chapbooks published and available, and I mean, I think it's great. It's the opportunity's there if you tap in.
If you're looking.
Yeah.
Head down to Tuleburg Press, downtown Stockton, California.
Yeah.
Check out their website. I'll have at, some direction in one of these screens. So how do you juggle your various roles as an MC, a poet, a rapper, an educator? Homie.
That's a good question. Yeah. I think I stopped. For me, it was a big shift when I stopped trying to compartmentalize and just realized it's like, all right, I'm always all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And stop feeling like, all right, I got to like take one hat off to put on another and be this or that. It's kind of just like, all right, I'm going to be whatever the moment whatever I can contribute, whatever I can give my best to in the moment. That's what I want to do. Kind of like a running joke with the band sometimes, because we'll just get really into a jam, which is fun. But at some point, it's just like, all right, guys, what do you really want me to do here? Like, you want me to rap here? You want me to rap on this part? Like, what are we doing? I'm ready to rap. Just tell me where to rap. So yeah, I think for me, it was just realizing that, all those different, what I thought were like different parts of myself are really just like tools in the tool belt. Not to get too metaphorical, but it's like, okay, when it's time to be in that role, because again, I don't do it as much anymore, but being an event organizer in a community, you kind of fall into all those roles a little bit too. You're dropping little gems of knowledge on people, or man, when I would DJ these open mics, sometimes these rappers, these young artists, they come up and they give you this beat that's just like garbage, and it's not mastered, and it's maxing out my speakers, and they're like, turn it up, and I'm like, bro, and so it's a fine line to walk, because some people don't want to hear it, and I don't want to seem like the old guy at the set just telling the young people what to do, but genuine feedback, like, hey, like your track's garbage, you're talented, but a DJ can't play your track, or they like pull up something on YouTube, and it's just like, your talent deserves actual production,
better quality work.
So yeah, when you're out in the community like that, there's always opportunities to be a little bit of everything. Artistically though, to be more specific, I feel like it really just depends on what I want to say and what's the best way to say it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I consider myself a very political person, but I try not to just, be one of those people who just like talks and spouts a lot of stuff, But if I put it in a rap, then it's like, whether you agree with what I'm saying or not, you're already nodding your head to the beat. You're already like listening to the lyrical tendencies and things like that. So it's like my message might not be as over the head if I put it in a song versus just like saying, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I think it's just knowing what you need to be when you need to be it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like what inspired, like did it all just kind of fall into place and be like, okay, I guess I'm doing this now? Or what inspires you to want to, pursue such a diverse career path?
Well,
or just one just kind of came along.
I think it's just like I got to a point where I just wanted to stay sane, and I realized I was driving myself crazy the way I was approaching things.
So what came first? Wanting to write raps or write poems or MC?
Oh, artistically, I said poetry first. I was a poet first,
and then everything else kind of came along.
Yeah. But I wasn't just write it on the page and put it away poet. I was a performance poet. So even before I was doing slam poetry, I was on stages, open mics, and so that affects the way I write too. Like I write, even if it's a poem, I write with the audience in mind and with performance in mind.
Nice.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
so yeah, it very much is in my mind. Okay, well, what is my hand gesture going to be here when I say this, and how am I going to turn my body when I say this? So
it all matters.
Yeah, it does, and as opposed to just like you could just like write 2 pages of something, and then all right, well, how am I going to perform this? But for me, it's kind of all baked in together because I've always been a performer too. I've, was in theater and a lot when I was younger. So writing, being on stage and performing and writing, it all kind of comes together as a rapper, a performance poet, and the memorization skills you get from doing theater definitely come in handy for rapping. But yeah, so I feel like I was already doing poetry and stuff like that, and being in front of people on stage. And then when I moved to San Francisco for college, I started seeing people like freestyling just at random places, and I was just, dude, that's cool. I want to try that out. And
I cannot.
Yeah. And then, and then I just realized, well, this is a form of writing too. So then I started doing written raps too. So I was like, well, this is, and then I find if I freestyled a lot, then the next day my written raps were sometimes a lot better, or like
it's like a little more mentally agile.
Yeah. And there's some people are of the thinking that MCs who are really good freestylers aren't good writers, and I personally try to dispel that, and I don't think it's true. I mean, maybe in some cases, but I mean, it also depends on like how you brand yourself. Like freestyling as an art form isn't really as renowned as it was like in the late 90s, 2000s when there were, it was like a thing. Whereas like nowadays, and the term freestyle has gotten kind of convoluted. I'm talking like straight up off the top, no pre-written
because
anything.
Like, you can hear some people like, I got the homies, that do, freestyle stuff and open ciphers like during shows or after shows or whatever. And then you can kind of hear some repetitive, some of the same, like they like certain words to go together.
Crutches.
Like,
I call them crutches. All freestylers got crutches, and it's not a bad thing. And if you get really good at it, you kind of like build it in, it's like, I'm going to.
Like I hear, and everybody's freestyle spitting off the top of the dome.
Yeah.
It says that. It's like,
yeah.
But everybody said that, so that's not right off the dome. But
I knew this one guy. Yeah, his was always spitting on the microphone. I was like, well, clearly you're spitting on the microphone. Plus, you said it like 10 times. So,
but I mean, no knock to my homies.
No. It is what it is. I mean, and like freestyling is definitely an art form, and not every, then
I can't do it.
Some people can't do it at all, and some people can, and some people can do it exceptionally well. So it's like
even if I'm trying to freestyle, it still ends up somewhat premeditated, because the guy next to you is freestyling, and then it's going to go to you, and then it's going to this person, and then me. I'm not listening to you guys. I'm like hearing
you're already you're right in your head.
Like, damn, I should have said that out loud. And then when it gets to me, like I lost it.
Well, for me, freestyle is like really visceral. Like for me, it's very much about like how I'm feeling the beat and the music, and like how I'm feeling in that moment, and then what words and thoughts and feelings and ideas come out of that, versus someone like Zeps who will just freestyle about what's in this room and what you're wearing and what's on TV, and it's highly entertaining and engaging, and it's like, and people feel like they're a part of it. It's very crowd pleasing. I feel like sometimes I'll freestyle something and I'll be like, dude, this is fucking brilliant, and I'll look up and be like, oh man, I think I lost people. But in my mind, it was just like this whole 16 bar freestyle, magnum opus, that made it doesn't even seem like a freestyle, because I was just like so in my head about it, as opposed to like talking about what's happening in the room.
Oh, dude, Zeps is like I made the comment last week. Zeps is like a direct descendant of Dr. Seuss.
Right. Yeah.
He's got Seuss genes.
Yeah, but I think that's the interesting thing. And so back in the day, you had artists like Supernatural, Juice. These guys their whole career was built off freestyling. And I just don't think you see that much of it anymore. I think it's a good skill to have, and it might not be true, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I respect an MC a little bit less, even if I like their lyrics whenever they can't freestyle.
I can see that, because it's like, it's almost like it would be the difference between like a live performance or pre-recorded album. You've had time in that studio to perfect, try again, re-record, get it till you do right, versus live, you're getting it as you're putting it out, whether you mess up or not.
I think too, it's like
being able to freestyle,
I think it's sort of a cultural thing too. Like hip hop is an art form that came up from the streets, came up from the underprivileged people in society. It was it was protest music in a sense. It was battle music in a way, even though they weren't like necessarily battling each other, you know. So I feel like being able to be quick with your wit, being able to like snap back if someone's snapping at you, is like, it's part of the culture. It's like, you gotta, I'm not really a battle rapper, but it's like, I'm at least, if someone comes at me, I can at least, you know, hold my ground. Yeah. And I feel like, so it's like, but I mean, I think that could just be like a generational thing. Cause I feel like, you know, kind of what I was saying earlier, artists can now create whole albums at their homie's house in their garage or this or that. I mean, I think a lot of these younger artists kind of did blow up just off of like YouTube or TikTok or whatever. And so they reached this level of fame and success, and they never had to like defend themselves in a rap cipher, you know, or whatever. So, and you know, it is what it is, and they're making a lot more money and having a lot more success than me. So, but you know, from a certain perspective, I'm kind of like, well, you kind of skipped this whole part of what it means to be part of hip hop. You know, it's like, there's a rough edge to it.
Yeah.
You know?
So in today's age and with all that going on, how do you stay inspired and motivated?
Oh, man.
Especially across, you know, such a wide range of activities.
Right now, the trick is just, I mean, I get motivated by anger a lot, and I'm trying not to like let that take over right now, because I just think people are going nuts right now. It's driving me crazy. It's just like, you know, leading up to the election, all this talk about, oh, we're so divided. Let's not be so divided. Then after the election, everyone, if you voted for so and so, unfollow me, block me, this and that. It's just like, okay, no conversation, no sitting, you know. So I'm trying to like figure out a way to like stay mad and motivated, but not so mad that I'm just like, well, I guess I am. I'm just moving. I'm leaving the country, getting out of here. No, but I don't know. I've always felt like the message I have to bring, you know, even if only a small group of people hear it, it is important, because it is about unity, and it's about empowering the individual through their creativity, which then ripples out and makes a healthier community and a healthier society. So I do feel like what I have to say is just as important now as it ever has been, maybe even more so. But I'm not going to drive myself crazy, feeling like I got to be shouting it from the mountaintop, or, you know, running out in the streets with a megaphone saying this. Is just like, okay, I got to have these feelings, but, you know, channel them when and where I can, how I can. But I feel like, you know, so much of what I've been saying has been relevant, you know, like wake up. It's all about like waking up to the real nature of reality, and everything you think is real doesn't matter that much. And, you know, talk about like fallen empires like Rome and Sumeria, and, you know, kind of try to, you know, mirror that off what's happening today. And, you know, that poem I wrote in like 2006, and it's still relevant, you know? So it's like people still need to wake up.
Timeless work.
Yeah. So I feel like for me, the motivation doesn't wane. It's just figuring out where I go next, you know? So I guess right now I'm in a little bit of a holding pattern, waiting for this move to Ireland to see what that does. But, you know, I'm still engaged every day, and I'm still writing every day, and we're going to get this Mazel Tov album recorded before I go. And so, yeah, I think no matter what is going on culturally, politically, you have to stay motivated. And I think for real artists, that's the time, you know? I mean, some people like to say, keep politics out of art. I think that's ridiculous. I think that's impossible, because who you are as an artist is who you are as a person. And as a person, you have political beliefs. So how is that not going to show up in your art? I mean,
if your heart's pumping, you have a feeling, you feel some way about some things one way or another.
Yeah. And if that doesn't show up in your art, then what are you doing? You know?
So how, what impact do you hope to have, you know, on your, as an educator, either through your students or as, you know, just readers, listeners on your poems or music? What impact do you hope to leave them with?
Well, in the simplest sense, I hope inspire them to foster their own creativity. Maybe it's not writing for them, but whatever it is, you know, maybe they hear what I do, and I would hope it would encourage them to do that. I think in recent years, I mean, I don't think I've really releasing a lot of stuff, but I've been writing a lot of stuff along more personal lines, just about like some mental health struggles that I hope, you know, when I start putting that out, that would just like kind of let people know that they're not alone, that, you know, that we all go through these sort of things. I think at its heart, I want my poetry and music to like make people feel connected, you know, be a unifying factor, shine a light on what we have in common, the struggles, the successes. Because as I just said, there's already enough division, you know, and it's so and that's a challenge as an artist too, because I do have very strong beliefs, but also I want to present what I have to say in a way that is accessible by as many people as possible. And that's a fine line to walk, to speak your truth, because you're going to offend people no matter what if you speak your truth. But how would I do that in a way where I offend the least people as possible? Well, I'm not afraid of offending people, but not for offense's sake.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean?
That's not your objective.
Yeah.
You know, for some people, I feel like it can be.
Sure. No, some people made whole careers out of it. Yeah.
Trying to stir it up.
Oh yeah.
And so, how did writing and rapping, lead to your role as an educator? Was it the workshops with Paula?
No, I've been doing workshops for a long time before I met Paula. It just sort of seemed like a natural step at some point. I mean, when I was living in Milwaukee, very involved in the poetry scene out there, and a lot of the people that were mentoring me were already in schools doing stuff. So they would just be like, hey, come on in and come into my workshop and do some poetry and share your process, So they would just have me come in and
that educational environment.
Yeah, give a different perspective. And, it was, I mean, I will say, having been born and raised and grown up in California and then going out to Milwaukee in my early 20s was definitely a culture shock. I mean, it's the same country, but it's just different, So for me, some hippie from California to come in and do poetry for these kids, and Milwaukee's kind of a rough city, it's definitely got some grit, So for me to come in, it was just a perspective that they hadn't heard before, So it was something different. And then, then that led into more opportunities, and, got to actually help the kids do some free writing and then show them how to do some revision exercises. It's like any freelance work. It kind of depends on the contract too. Like, sometimes they just want you to come in for one day, and there's not really a whole lot you can do with kids.
Yeah.
So in those workshops, I'll usually share some of my own work, sort of as a, hey, this is what poetry can look like. Do some free writing and then have them share. But then if it's a contract where we're going to be coming back week after week, then it's like, okay, we're going to free write one week, revise the next week, blah, blah, blah.
Have a little bit of a lesson plan.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I like to be able to take a student from nothing to a finished product, but,
how do you incorporate like your experience, like how you were saying earlier, the middle schoolers, weren't very impressed. How do you incorporate your experiences as a rapper and a poet into your teaching methods?
Yeah. Well, it's tough. And again, I'm not someone who does it every day. So I think real dedicated educators are probably a lot better at this than me. But I feel like you got to kind of figure out right away who actually wants to be there and give them a lot of the energy that they're there for. And then the kids that don't want to be there, you don't want to alienate them or rule out the chance for them to maybe get into it. But also it's like, okay, you guys are going to be knuckleheads, just be knuckleheads over here. The best I can do sometimes is just make sure you don't ruin it for someone who wants to learn. Versus and it's different too, because I've done workshops where I come in as a contracted educator during school hours. So it's like they're in their regular classroom with their teacher, and then I'm a different face that comes in and do something. Versus like an after school program, they're already checked out for the day. Yeah. They don't want to be there. They're and then their parents come and
get picked up.
Yeah, their parents come at different times every day to pick them up. So one day they'll have an hour to write. One day they'll have 5 minutes. And how do I build a relationship like that,
Yeah.
Again, it just comes down to, I think the best thing I can do is just be my most authentic self on any given day in any given moment, and just hope that will get to where it needs to, or help whoever it can.
Yeah. What advice would you give aspiring poets, artists, writers that are wanting to make their mark in the community, or make a difference, getting published their work?
Yeah, I would say kind of what I was talking about earlier with the morning pages. You can't always just wait for the inspiration. You got to build it in as a discipline. You're not always going to want to paint or dance or whatever. I mean, I'm not a gym guy, but I know a lot of them, and that's what they say. You got to get it disciplined, so you go to the gym even when you don't want to, because of course you don't want to.
Yeah. And that goes with anything. It's hard for me to sit down and edit when I don't want to.
Yeah. So I think, if you just, some people can do amazing things with inspiration, and some people just have incredible raw creative talent, but that's not going to build, you can't build a career off that. You can't build any sort of consistent practice off of that. So you have to somehow build it in, and it looks different for everyone. You know, for me, I try to like do it in the morning. Maybe for someone with like crazy ADHD, it's a different time of the day, but at some point in the day, they set aside 20 minutes for their creativity. So just on a very basic level, there's that. I think all art is a journey of self-discovery too. So hopefully as you're developing as an artist, you're also learning about yourself. And that's really one of the most important things, because only you can say what you're going to say. I mean, there's a million something rappers, singers, poets out there. And a lot of them are probably saying the same thing. Some are better than you. Some aren't as good as you. Some people that aren't as good as you are having more success than you. You gotta shut all that out and just really get down to the heart of who are you and what are you trying to say and why is it important. And I think, you know, starting from there is, at least for me, makes so much more sense than like, okay, I got to attack the industry. I got to, you know, come in and just like blow up off the spot, because, you know, you can get lost. If that's your goal, you're easy to manipulate. If you're talented, someone will find you and gas you up and, you know, taking advantage of you. But if you have your own sense of self, your own core base, you know what you want. I think last week we mentioned the artist La Russell from Oakland. You know, he's just like, I always see on his videos, he's like, yeah, these labels, they always want me to sign. And, you know, he's saying someday he may, but he's been able to he's done everything he can and build a very successful career.
Without having to.
Yeah. You know, but he tapped into his community. He, you know, really doubled down on the skills he already had and what he was already working well for him. He just did more of that. And I think that's good advice for anyone to follow. You know, it really just comes down to you. I think a lot of artists who want to chase success think it's all about the audience and the people with the money, the corporations, the labels, whatever. It's not. It's about you. And so the more you know who you are and the more confident you are in what you're trying to say, I think you're going to have more success, but you will definitely enjoy the journey the most doing it that way.
Yeah. Do you have anything that you're working on currently? Any upcoming works that we should be excited to look out for?
Well, the second Mazel Tov Cocktail album should be coming out. Well, hopefully at least be done recording in the next couple months. And then
and that's who again? Just you and one other? Or
Mazel Tov Cocktail, it's a band. It's drummer, guitar, bass. There's another rapper who also plays horns.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, you know, sometimes the guys switch up the instruments, mix up the cocktail a bit. So that's, I think, like the big release that's coming out.
Who's on who? Or do you switch out the guys? Who's in your band? Or do you want to shout them out?
Oh, yeah, sure. On guitars, you know, my homie Elazar Abraham, who also is the executive director of Hatch Workshop here in Stockton.
Okay.
And then on drums, we got Ian Anderson, who's in like 50 different bands. He's like a really prominent Stockton drummer. We got Seth, also known as Ubiquitous George. He's sort of like a multi-instrumentalist. He kind of does it all. My homie Kevtron does the bass and guitar. And Dr. Joe, he's a rapper as well. He's a tenured professor at UOP, but he also raps and plays horn. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah. No, we're an interesting group. You know, we're all different backgrounds. You know, like my boy Kevin, he's been in the trades his whole life. He's very blue collar. And then, you know, we got our tenured professor, our PhD, and then our community organizers. And so it is definitely a cocktail.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, like I was saying last time, you know, look at this camera and leave us with one word or phrase, like how I had mentioned before. I was like, I like how Andrew Santino did it at the end of Whiskey Ginger.
God, what did I say last time?
And I was telling Melchor yesterday, because at the end of the day, I was like, he was saying something, and I was like, oh, the word of the day is blah, blah, blah. And I was telling him yesterday, I was like, last week, J-Scribe's word of the day was practical. I wonder if he's going to use that word. And I don't think I heard you say it once today.
Dang, that's crazy. That's kind of funny that we have that previous recording as a reference.
Yeah.
For this. And what did I say to the camera last time? I feel like it was good. I can't remember now. Stay inspired. Stay true to yourself. And let it take the time it needs to take.
Nice. And I think
that was off top.
I think that might be the phrase of the day, because I've heard you say stay true to yourself a few times.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming in. Thank you all for tuning in to the Right Vibes Tales from Tuleburg Press. Today we had J-Scribe the Journeyman here on K.W.D.C 93.5 Stockton. I hope today's episode brought you fresh perspective and a dose of inspiration from J-Scribe the Journeyman. Sorry. Keep supporting local artists and be sure to join us again for the next episode. Next time we go for more artistic journeys from stories and different artists from Tuleburg Press Creatives. Brought to you by the Fierce Mustang Media Group. This is Bones out the booth. Thanks, man.
Nice. Yeah. So you got your
which one was this one? This one was you and this one was everybody?
Yeah.
How much is this one?
$20.
$20. I want to buy it and I want you to sign it. That one's all poems too?
Yeah. Well, there's some artwork in here too.
Oh, nice. Success.
Yeah, you seemed like a little more kind of comfortable today too. Just like
third run.
Yeah.
Yeah.